What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I am your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend, and as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of impossible to not be having a fabulous week over here at the Too Pop to Handle headquarters because this is a very exciting and monumental episode for the podcast. Not because of anything that happened necessarily in the pop culture world. Like, obviously, we have a Lady Gaga lead single announcement, we have the Eras tour that kicked back off. Like, there are some exciting things in the pop culture space, but that is not why this is such a fabulous week for myself and everybody listening / watching this podcast. This week, the podcast officially turns 1, which is crazy. I cannot believe I have a 1-year-old. I treat this podcast like it's my baby, essentially, because it is. Like, I cannot believe I have been yapping into this microphone for a year straight. That is crazy. If you've been listening since day 1, if you hopped in last week, if you hopped in 6 months ago, wherever you jumped in on the Too Pop to Handle journey, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming back every week, for subscribing, for following me, just for any type of support, whether you've listened once or 53 times. Yeah, this is our 53rd episode. So whether you've listened to one of them, whether you've listened to all 53, thank you so much. This has truly been such a fun year doing this. It's something that I've wanted to do for so long. If you listen back to my first episode, I feel like that's something I want to do this week. I want to listen back and be like, what has changed? Like, what's still going on? But regardless, if you listen back to the first episode, I was saying how I have always wanted to start a podcast. Like, it was always my end goal, and I was just too nervous to do it. And I even had the name for this podcast. I had the name, the handles, the cover art, everything set in stone, ready to go for 9 months. So when I say it's my baby, I literally mean I carried this podcast not in my stomach, but in the interwebs of the internet for 9 months. And then finally I got home from work one day and I told my boyfriend, I was like, hey, I need the living room tomorrow because I'm starting the podcast. And he was like, the fuck do you mean? I was like, no, I'm starting the podcast. We're doing it. And yeah, that's that. And now here we are, a new apartment, a year later, we got some upgraded equipment. We are doing the damn thing. And I'm so proud of myself. I'm proud of this podcast. I can't wait to just see where it goes and see where we're at in a year from now. But that's enough about being sappy. Oh, actually, no, it's not enough about being sappy. If you are listening to the podcast anywhere, you've probably noticed the cover art got a little facelift. Nothing too crazy. It's still our fun little, magazine clipping, murder mystery ransom note text that we have, because I love the logo. I love the magazine aspect of it. But now when you listen to the podcast, you get to see my gorgeous face on the cover every single week because I've updated it to have a photo of me. So that is exciting. Just a quick, a little facelift, nothing too crazy. But yes, happy 1 year of Too Pop to Handle, and here's to many, many more. But that being said, I had myself a very Too Pop to Handle coded weekend, and there is so much to dive into. So let's just get into it and keep this party going. This is a celebration, you guys. So let's celebrate. So like I said, I feel like I haven't done a full weekend recap in a while because I haven't been doing too many crazy pop culture centric things. But this weekend, every single day, your boy was booked and busy, and it was something related to a pop culture stratosphere somehow. So let's get into it. Friday night, I finally saw We Live in Time, the new Andrew Garfield movie, and Florence Pugh, of course. And I kind of didn't love it. I hate to start the podcast on kind of a negative note. It wasn't that it was a bad movie. I just expected more. I feel like I was more emotional at the trailer than I was in the actual movie. I definitely teared up at the movie. If you've seen it, that final 2 scenes, I don't want to spoil it, but those last 2 scenes, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But I definitely teared up, but I fully cried at the trailer, which I don't do often. I don't often see a trailer and just am so overcome with emotion, but this trailer hit me in the gut, and I expected to go into this movie bawling my eyes out, and I was like, oh, that's it? Okay, cool. It wasn't bad. I wouldn't tell you not to go see it, but it definitely just I think I just wanted the characters to be more developed. It was very much surface level. They fall in love. The whole story. You know what's going to happen from the trailer. She hits him with the car. They have a baby. She gets sick. And then you can imagine where it goes from there. The only thing they don't confirm in the trailer is what happens to the mother in the movie. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it's there's nothing in the movie that you didn't really know before the trailer. Obviously you learn little things what they do for a job and things like that, and it does play an important role into the movie. It just felt very surface level, and maybe it's because I went into it with really high expectations, but I don't know. Again, it wasn't bad. but it wasn't good, if that makes sense. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you're listening on Spotify now, there's an option to leave comments. So if you've seen We Live in Time, leave me a comment and let me know what you're thinking. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you go down and leave a comment down there. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, like tweet me. There are so many ways I get in contact with me. You can send a carrier pigeon. Like, I will find a way to get back to you. But I feel like the trailer to this movie was so much more like emotional than the actual movie itself, which is such a letdown. But that being said, I did see, I kicked off the weekend seeing We Live in Time. And then Saturday morning, I reunited with one of my OG faves, which if you read the newsletter this week, I was like, one day I'm going to do an entire episode of just like the Jonas Brothers and the lore. And like, I feel like a lot of people listening to this might know me from Jonas Brothers Stan Twitter, which is like a story and a beast in and of itself and all of that, craziness. But I did get to see Joe Jonas, who is famously my favorite Jonas brother. He was doing an event at Bloomingdale's to celebrate the launch of his Scotch and Soda collaboration. So a little meet and greet moment. It was really cute, actually. It was a really well done event. They had like free coffee for us. They had people doing Polaroid pictures. Like, it was a really well done event. So very fun event, very fun way to start off Saturday morning. And then me and my best friend Ashley headed to New Jersey on Sunday night, which like, I don't go to New Jersey just for anyone, but Giggly Squad was doing a show in New Jersey, which if you're not familiar with Giggly Squad, they are just like probably one of the funniest podcasts I've ever listened to. It's Paige DeSorbo, Hannah Berner. They're both on Bravo. Now they have their podcast. If you know, you know. But they are just hilarious. I love them. They're so funny. And so we spent, a Sunday fun day night. We went over to New Jersey and saw their live show. It was so much fun. So funny. And yeah, it was like a fabulous two pop to handle weekend. It was like the perfect way to kind of ring in my 1 year week. And yeah, now I'm feeling like ready to take on the week. We are back in summer here in New York. Like, it is literally 80 degrees outside, which is literally insane because last week I wore a winter jacket to my office and this week I am sweating. Like, I don't get it. I don't know what's happening. Like, and people sit here and they're like, global warming isn't real. I cannot. And while we're on the topic of New York, now you guys know I am not a sports guy. I mean, like, shocker, the gay man with a pop culture podcast isn't watching sports every single week. But when New York teams win, I feel like I have to give them a little shout out. And, I'm very proud to be from New York and very proud to live in the city. So I just had to, make sure everybody knows that New York is still on top. The Yankees are going to the World Series. And more importantly, our WNBA team, New York Liberty, won the WNBA championship this week. I think it's the first time they've won in like 20 years. Like, it was a big deal. If you've listened for a little while and you remember, I was talking about Ellie the elephant a few weeks ago. Actually, it was a few months ago at this point. That is their mascot. So just like a huge year for them. They've been like killing it on socials. They've been like obviously killing it on the court and like doing their thing. So love to see it. Ellie was turned the fuck up over this win. And that's just like what I like to see. I love seeing women win. And congrats to the Yankees, I guess. They're now actually, and this might be like a question for the sports girls or sports, if there's any straight men listening, which I doubt there are. And if there are, hey, welcome. But that being said, why are there 7 games in the World Series? Like, how come the Yankees and I think it's the Dodgers, how come the Yankees and the Dodgers have to, now they play 7 games to decide who actually wins the championship? Like, isn't it in football, it's 1 game, it's the Super Bowl? Like, why is baseball 7? Is that like, I couldn't understand that. Like, and again, I am not sporty spice. Like, that is not my forte. So, but I feel like that's like a very, a valid question because how does football get 1 game? And I think hockey is 1 game too. Isn't it the Stanley Cup? Like, they have 1 game that they play that the 2 teams come together and they decide who was the best of the season. Why does baseball have 7? Like, that's a little crazy if you ask me. And I feel like it's kind of unfair to the baseball players. But again, I am not sporty spice, so I digress. Moving on, before we hop into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, I obviously have to address the unfortunate elephant in the room. I talked about it on the newsletter, but I felt like I had to come on here and address it as well because a few weeks ago, he was my mess of the week. And after the news that came out last week about Liam Payne, I was like, oof, like, I kind of feel bad that I talked so much shit about him. Not that it wasn't warranted, he definitely was acting out and think, it's just, it was very, in the moment it made sense, but now looking back and like what has transpired in the last few days, just so heartbreaking. I mean, again, I wrote about it in the newsletter, so if you want all my thoughts and everything there, feel free to go check that out on my Substack, but just sending love to anyone who has been affected and upset. I know being a fangirl, being a part of a fan is like it's such a special thing, and I feel like the big conversation online right now is like how you're supposed to grieve somebody when they weren't necessarily like the best person, and like, of course, everything that came out about him the last few weeks is definitely unfavorable, but it is like totally okay to be grieving who somebody once was, and he was such a big part in so many people's childhoods and like, there's so many people now who work in the music industry who were fangirls and ran One Direction fan pages that are now like working at Spotify, working at record labels, and like they wouldn't have found that love and passion for music and fandoms and whatever it may be that they fell into if it wasn't for One Direction. And like I think back, like I wouldn't be so into social media and pop culture if it wasn't for the Jonas Brothers and like being on their fan club back in 2008. And like here I am now. So like just putting yourself, if you're somebody on the outside who was like, how are you going to mourn somebody or grieve somebody who, maybe wasn't the most favorable person? Like, just put yourself in their shoes and put yourself and be like, if my favorite person, like my favorite artist, whatever it may be, passed away, like, how would you feel? And I think just like anybody who comments or like has any opinions on the way people grieve the loss of anybody is just like it's just like an invalid statement. It like immediately invalidates itself, and I just feel like nobody can tell anybody else how to grieve the loss of anyone. So I just think that kind of like negates anything anybody is saying about the way people are mourning this. So again, just sending my love to anybody out there who is, feeling this loss. And though I wasn't a huge One Direction fan, it's obviously still like a very shocking and upsetting thing. So again, I wrote more about it in my newsletter and kind of like gave my sum up of like how I'm feeling and things like that there. But I just want to come on here and make sure the listeners, in case you're not a reader as well, which totally fine. But in case you aren't a reader, I just obviously wanted to come on and address that. But like I said, we are here to celebrate this week. It is our 1-year anniversary. We are, we're going to keep the party going and just kind of, flip the script and keep things going. And we are going to hop into our pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, a little rapid fire pop culture. So kicking things off, the former CEO of Abercrombie Fitch, Mike Jeffries, has been arrested on sex trafficking and interstate prostitution charges. Him and 2 other associates, Matthew Smith and James Jacobson, are each facing a single count of sex trafficking, as well as 15 counts of interstate prostitution tied to 15 alleged victims, which is just a crazy thing to read. But when you really think about it, is it that crazy to think about, like, the man who was running a company that would have men standing outside the store shirtless? Is it that insane that he was doing some weird shit behind the scenes? I don't know. Obviously, doesn't make it okay, but like as I was reading this, I was like, yeah, I mean, if you watched White Hot on Netflix, which is like the rise and fall of Abercrombie and Fitch, a documentary they put out, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, crazy documentary. It kind of broke down what was going on behind the scenes at the company while Mike Jeffries was the CEO, and kind of how Abercrombie has had this like change, and they've really like revamped the company and their morals, and they were getting shit because all of their models were skinny, white, conventionally hot people. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a closeted gay boy in the early 2000s. So when I would go to the mall and I would walk past Abercrombie and Fitch and see the 2 men with washboard abs standing outside of the store, like, yeah, I would stare. And I wasn't necessarily mad to walk past the store 2 or 3 times every time I would visit the mall. But like looking back at it now, I'm like, oh, that was actually kind of fucking weird that they did that. It definitely was a questionable marketing scheme and like marketing plot, but I guess this is why he's not the CEO anymore. So they were organizing sex events in England, France, Italy, Morocco, St. Bart's, and New York. And essentially they were positioned as like networking events for these men to come to like help kickstart their modeling career. And they were told that they didn't comply with the requests and the certain acts during these sex events, that it would later harm their career, which is just like such a disgusting and insane thing to be reading. They also reported that they would hire staff for these parties, and the staff would provide everybody with alcohol, poppers, lubricant, Viagra, condoms, and like any other items that really would just, like get the event going, take that as you will. And it's just like, it's insane to read this and just be like, this man was running the company. He ran the company for more than 20 years. And like, he stopped running the company in the early 2000s, I believe. And this is all just coming out now. The investigation has been going on for about a year. I believe it was last May when all of the allegations and like people were started to come forward with what was going on. But just today, they finally were able to, I guess, like confirm it, arrest him and these other 2 guys. And like reading a story like this, especially with everything happening with Diddy right now, it just like really makes you think like, what the fuck is going on behind the scenes of like our biggest, like the celebrities that we follow? What is going on behind the scenes of the companies that we're purchasing from? Like, it is crazy. Obviously, this is all things that happened years ago before like the internet was more of a thing and people were coming out talking about these things. And, people, thankfully, people are a lot more comfortable coming forward now, but it's just like, you don't even know the half of what must have went down at some of these events and like these parties. And it is just like, it is scary to be reading some of these headlines and think about like what these people went through. So fucking nuts. We're going to keep things rolling though and kick things into a more positive note, and we're going to talk about the Eras Tour. So as I'm sure you all know, Taylor Swift kicked off the final leg of the Eras Tour this weekend in Miami, and there was a lot to cover. So before the shows in Miami even kicked off, we got news that the Rogers Stadium in Toronto has spent $8 million to upgrade their networks to 5G ahead of her concerts later this year. So I believe she's there in like November, maybe early December, and they literally spent $8 million to make sure the Swifties and all of the fans at these events would have strong cell service, because they want to make sure that everybody is able to live stream the event and I guess like update at the concert, which as much as I'm so pro like being off your phone at a concert, like the Eras Tour, it is like a business. Like people are live streaming this shit as if it is their job. And to some people it is their jobs, the amount of money people can make live streaming things on TikTok. So honestly, more power to Rogers Stadium. Like that's kind of queen behavior when you think about it, for them to just like think ahead of the curve and be like, let's give these bitches something to live stream. We're going to give you 5G connections, bitch. None of that public Wi-Fi bullshit. None of that like LTE shit that doesn't actually work, or like, it's like, it says like error, SOS. Like, no. They're like, you guys are going to be good. You guys are going to have crisp live streams. No more of that grainy bullshit we've been seeing on TikTok. Like these Toronto shows, these live streams are going to be like 4K HD. We're going to be able to see the sweat dripping off of Taylor's face. But that being said, let's hop into the Miami shows, because there's a plethora of things to talk about. So obviously, as the Eras Tours is, it was a star-studded event. Selena Gomez was there, Tom Brady, Serena Williams, the Today Show girlies stepped out, Hoda, Savannah, and Jenna. Alex Earl was there with her boyfriend Braxton, and of course the Kelsey crew was there, not with Travis because he was playing a game, but Jason, Donna, and Kylie Kelsey were all in attendance. And somebody who was in attendance is kind of creating headlines from being at the event and like what transpired from him being there is Dave Portnoy. And now the reason he's making headlines over being at the Eras Tour is because Taylor hand wrote him a note that was hand delivered to him by her brother, I believe. And the note was pretty much just her thanking Dave for his support over the years and how happy she was that he was at the event, which like, why did he get such a special treatment at the Eras Tour? Like, where is everybody else's handwritten note? Like, Hoda just quit her job and you're not going to send her a little message through the show? I mean, I don't know. I mean, why she sent the message to him, we will never know, but it was definitely crazy to see that, like, he was literally gifted a handwritten note from Taylor from the desk of Taylor Swift. It literally said, like, from the desk of Taylor Swift, songwriter / cat lady, or whatever her stationery says. And reading it, I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like it was definitely unexpected, but expect the unexpected with Miss Taylor Swift. So those are the headlines. Those are the people who, were attending the event, all the stars that came out. The show was being filmed and there was a camera crew that was following Taylor around backstage all night. So I'm assuming we're getting a documentary. I mean, we obviously got the Eras Tour movie already, which was just straight through of the concert, which to me, if you guys listened to the episode when I did to go see the movie in theaters, I did say, like, I wish it was more Renaissance movie where there was more documentary in between and like we learned about the stage setup and maybe how she picks her outfits every night, which we'll get into the new outfits in just a minute. But like, I think a documentary for the Eras Tour is what we all need, because this is such a large scale production and it's been going on for almost 2 years. March would be 2 years if she kept it going. So just shy of 2 years. And like, this is a monster of a show. Like, it is a 3-hour long show. She is on stage nonstop. Like, it is a production. So I think a documentary for this tour, it's just like, not only is it such like a monumental moment in Taylor's life, and it has been such like a crazy moment just in pop culture and honestly concert history. Like, this has broken so many records, been such a big deal in the concert space. Like, I think a documentary is the perfect way to just like really wrap up the magnitude of this tour and like really give us all of the BTS of like what went down behind the scenes at the Eras Tour. So I'm very excited to see whatever they were filming and like what comes into play with that. And now, speaking of the outfits, like I said, we did have a bunch of new outfits. So we had a new Fearless dress, a new Speak Now dress, some new surprise song dresses, which were very questionable. I don't know if I love them, but you know what? It is what it is. We got new Midnights t-shirt dresses. And then the biggest thing from the weekend is the fact that we finally got a new Reputation bodysuit, which, if you are not like a chronically online Swiftie, this sounds insane, but it is such a big deal. Like, when I saw that she came out in a new Rep bodysuit, I turned to my boyfriend, who is like the furthest thing from a Swiftie, and I was like, listen, I know this means nothing to you, but I just need to like talk to somebody about this because this is crazy. Like, something is happening and nothing happened, but Very, very interesting that she chose now to start a new, new rep bodysuit when she's kind of been like clowning with us all tour long by wearing the exact same fucking bodysuit for God only knows how many shows. And now the last leg, she finally worked out this gold one. Doesn't mean anything. Who knows? It could just be her having fun. She was like laughing her fucking ass off. You could see in all the videos. As soon as she came out on the stage and everybody realized it was a new bodysuit, she was like smiling from ear to ear. Like she knows what the fuck she's doing and she loves to play with our emotions. And you know what? We let it happen. Like she really is the ringleader of a circus because we are all clowns and we are going to be clowning for Reputation Taylor's version until it is in our possession. So she's going to have fun with it. I kind of like the fact that she's just like playing into it at this point and she's obviously in on the joke. So it is what it is. But yes, a new Reputation bodysuit. We also had Florence come out all 3 nights to sing Florida with her, which we did get in London, I believe. But obviously with the shows being in Miami, she had to have Florence come out. I was surprised that she came out all 3 nights. I didn't think she was going to be like a triple threat, but all 3 nights, they got Florida featuring Florence, which, I mean, when you're in Florida, obviously, how do you do it without Florence? So loved that for them. And now let's get into some of these surprise songs because some of them are really, really good. Some of them were like some of them were big losses. Some of them weren't to me. So again, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but some of them I was like, I could do without this. So kicking it off, night one, we got Tim McGraw and Timeless. Tim McGraw, that one is one that I would love to hear live because it is really one of the songs that started it all for Taylor. Timeless, you could play it right now and I wouldn't know it. I'm not gonna lie. Like I struggle with the vault tracks because except 1989. I will say 1989 vault tracks I always listen to because I love them. But like the Fearless and Speak Now vault tracks, I just don't really listen to ever, to be completely honest. So when I saw Timeless, I was like, what the fuck is Timeless? But Tim McGraw, that is a big loss. And then the second song was This Is Me Trying and Daylight. That is a major loss. Those two songs together. I also love the fact that like with Daylight, if you look at like the Reputation bodysuit of it all, she has the line where it says, I once believed love was burning red, but now it's golden. The Reputation bodysuit was once burning red, now it's golden. Obviously, Daylight is not from Reputation, but I don't put anything past this bitch. And like, I don't think that was like not intentional to do it like the night that she switched from a red to a golden bodysuit. I don't think it means anything like Easter egg wise. I just think it was like a fun little like play on it, and I think it definitely it added a little level to the show because like it's like if you know type of situation. Night two, she was diabolical because the fact that we got a debutation, which a debut song and a Reputation mashup is insane because she knows what she's doing, like she did with the rep bodysuit. Like she knows what she's doing when she does these things. So it was should have said no, and I did something bad. And I did something bad is like famously the last song she needed to play from Reputation, and she played it somewhere overseas. I forget what show, but like it was a big deal when she played I Did Something Bad because it was the last song from Reputation that was not played as a surprise song. And when she announced 1989 Taylor's version, she performed New Romantics, which was the last song from 1989 that needed to be performed. So when she performed I Did Something Bad back a few months ago, like it was the biggest fucking deal because it was like, oh my God, it's the last song she hasn't performed yet. Like if she was a normal human being and stuck to a structure, when you sing the final song of the album that's yet to be released, you release the album. But she's obviously, again, playing in her face. So we got a Reputation and a Debut, which, again, Debut and Rep are the last two Taylor versions that we need. So it was kind of like fully laughing in our face doing a mashup of the two of them. And then we got LOML or LOMO, I don't know, Love on My Life, Lost on My Life, and White Horse, which those two songs sound sonically so similar. So I honestly, like, when I heard the mashup and I saw that she did it, I was like, wait, these songs actually blend together so well. So very fun. White Horse is such like a special song. I feel like I feel like it's one of the songs that was one of like the first like favorite songs. I feel like a lot of like OG Fearless Swifties had. White Horse had like a chokehold on the culture for so long. So love to see her still performing that. And then night three, we got Out of the Woods and All You Had to Do Was Stay. This one hurts me because I am such a 1989 stan. So the fact that they got a full 1989 mashup, it really just like punches me in the gut. Speak Now and are my two favorite Taylor albums. So like anything tying to those two, which we know she kind of paid Speak Now dust, but 1989, at least she is still shining through. Yeah, this one hurt. This was a big loss for me. And then we got Mirror Ball and Guilty as Sin, which again, just a fucking insane mashup. Like when you look at those lyrics and like tie in like the meanings of the two songs, she is insane. And then the final note from night three, we did get a Karma is the Guy on the Chief. So I'm assuming maybe if there's a football game and she can't be there because she has a show, maybe she'll switch the lyric as like a shout out to Travis. I don't really know, but it was the only night that she did it, and Travis did play that night. I believe they won. Again, I'm not a sporty person, but I believe they won. So whether it's tying to just like Travis playing the night that she can't be there or because they won, I just love this little like way that she, throws that in there. And like, I will never forget where I was the first time she did Karma is the Guy in the Chiefs. It was such a shift in like the pop culture world and just like a shift in my brain. So I love anytime she throws that line in there. And that really wraps up Eras Tour from the weekend. We have, I think there's like 5 weekends left. So we're really coming down to the final few shows, which is just crazy. But before we go on to our next moment, I'm not going to go into the Academy Museum Gala too much because there's not too much to really talk about. I mean, all the girls were out. Everyone looked gorgeous. Ariana, Cynthia, Renee, everybody was there. But tying it back to Taylor, we had a very interesting photo that was shared from the event, and it was Patrick Schwarzenegger, Kendall Jenner, and Joe Alwyn. And just like the layers of the three of them being together, obviously Patrick and Joe both being exes of Taylor, and Kendall obviously being a sister of Kim and best friends with Gigi, who is also one of Taylor's best friends. I was just like, how did the three of them end up in a photo together? And like, what did they talk about? Like, Patrick, Kendall, and Joe are not a trio that I would ever really pin to like run in the same circles. I get why they were at this event, but I was like, were they seated near each other? Like, what did they discuss? What did they talk about? Obviously, they're adults, like, and I think Taylor is really removed from the equation from all of their lives now. Like, I think there was once a world in which the three of them being together, the main topic of conversation would have been Taylor Swift. But I think in today's climate, I don't think that is like on the forefront of their mind. And like, I don't think they took this photo as a like, ha ha ha, like, we hate Taylor Swift club. I don't think any of them really hate Taylor Swift either. Like, I think we're past that, in the Taylor Swift timeline. But it was just an interesting photo to see the three of them together. It's just like such an unexpected trio, and like when you really tie together like all the layers of it, it does kind of point back to Taylor Swift. But I had to obviously mention it. But like I said, we're not going to get into the gala too much because there wasn't really too much to talk about. And moving right along into our next story, not only do her hips not lie, but her numbers don't lie. Shakira this week announced that she is going to be canceling her arena tour, not for the reason you would think so, but because she is upgrading her entire tour to stadiums. And that is such queen behavior. When you think about the climate in today's world of like concerts and like people, it's so expensive to go to shows right now. Like, it's impossible to get tickets. It's so expensive to go to a concert. Like, some artists are struggling to sell out venues. Some artists can't perform enough. Like, it's such like a weird climate in the concert world right now. For Shakira to have to cancel her arena tour because she has to upgrade every single one of her venues to a stadium. It's not like it was like, oh, in New York and LA, it was a big demand. I had to cancel and we're going to upgrade. Every single date. She canceled the entire tour. So her arena tour was set to kick off next month in November, but due to the demand, she had to upgrade every single arena to a stadium. She put out a statement and she said, "To my dear fans, your incredible support since my tour announcement has been truly extraordinary and is already making the biggest tour of my career. As Live Nation communicated earlier, the demand for tickets and more shows has reached the point that our tour now requires stadiums in the USA and more dates so I can see as many of you as possible. The production of my show is also now so much larger and unlike anything I've ever done before. As a result, we're elevating my North American run from arenas to stadiums, and the dates will be shifted to May 2025, right after my Latin American tour. Get ready. Cities and dates will be announced on Monday. They've since been announced. This was on Friday, I believe, so this is a few days late, but the tour has now been announced. I know many of you made big efforts to be a part of these shows. Thank you so much for supporting me through this. Your understanding and love means the world to me and helps me continue breaking barriers. I'll be waiting for all of you with great anticipation. I promise to make it worth the wait and deliver the best show of my life with all my love and gratitude, Shakira." And I just love to see that. You guys know how much I love reporting concert news, and like I love to see any female just like winning in any sense. And Shakira deserves all of this love and support. She has been giving us bangers for most of our lives, and she has been like in this game for so long. I was at the VMAs when she got her Video Vanguard Award, so that was last year, I believe, 2023. And when I tell you, seeing her performance in person was such an insane moment. This bitch has hits that you don't even remember. Like, she was on that stage and I was like, holy shit, like this is just like nonstop hit after hit after hit. She was dancing, she was singing, she was running around the fucking stage. Like she was killing it. She was performing like it was her last day on earth. And I just love to see any celebration of her career. Obviously, you know, with her whole tax fraud shit and she went through a crazy divorce. Like she's been through a lot. And like some of it's, you know, her fault, some of it's not. But we love to see people come out on top. You can always right your wrongs. And just to give you guys some context of like the size changes, if you're not familiar with like arena versus stadium. So she was set to play Barclays Center here in New York. She's now playing MetLife Stadium. Barclays Center has a capacity of 19,000 seats, where MetLife Stadium has 82,500 seats. That, I'm not going to do that math, but that is a crazy change in capacity. And it's just like, you love to see women winning. So I had to talk about that because you guys, again, you guys know I love concert news. And moving right along into some more news, not necessarily concert, but like kind of a concert. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has inducted their class of 2024 over the weekend. So the event took place in Cleveland. It was live streamed on Disney Plus. And just to name a few of the names that they inducted into the class of 2024, they had Mary J. Blige, Jimmy Buffett, Cher, the Dave Matthews Band, Foreigner, Ozzy Osbourne, Dionne Warwick, and others. The show lasted for 5 hours, which to me just seems like a little excessive. Granted, the list of people they inducted was honestly, it was like probably triple the size of the amount of people I just listed. Like it was a long list. That's why I had to cut it. I was like, I'm going to be talking about these people for fucking hours. It's going to be like a high school graduation. So it was a very long event, but there were some fun little stories that come out of it. So obviously Cher was finally inducted into the Hall of Fame. And she's like famously said, like, I don't give a fuck if I ever get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because for so long it was all she wanted. And she was like, I don't know what I have to do to get recognized by these people. And now finally, where she's like in this I don't give a fuck moment in her life, they're finally inducting her. And you know, it's like when you least expect things to happen in your life, that's when they happen. Like when you don't want it, that's when it happens to you. But obviously she's fucking Cher. Like she deserves a spot in this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame more than most of the people who are probably in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But she opened the show. Dua Lipa joined her for a duet of Believe. And I'm not going to sit here and say Dua sounded the best, because she didn't, but that is no shade to Dua. You know, she's been a busy bee. She had a show over the weekend, actually, not to pivot, but we're going to pivot. She performed in her hometown in London last week, and she performed at the Royal Albert Hall, which I didn't realize it was such a big deal. It's like one of the biggest, most prestige venues you can play in London. She had Elton John come out and perform Cold Heart with her. Like it was a huge weekend for Dua Lipa, but again, we're not talking about Dua, we're talking about Cher right now. So Cher was inducted. Again, she performed with Dua. She did a song by herself as well. And she was inducted into the Hall of Fame by Zendaya. And Zendaya just looked fucking insane. I mean, when doesn't she? She always looks gorgeous, but this was like another level. She was wearing a 2001 Bob Mackie dress with this long, straight black hair, very much paying homage to Cher, which she said in her speech. She said it's impossible to measure the influence that Cher has had on every one of us, as you can see, and like pointed to her outfit. She looked unreal. I mean, Cher has had such an incredible stamp on not even just pop culture in general, whether it's music, fashion, TV, performing. Like she really checks all the boxes. So it is about damn time that she gets her recognition and is inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I just love the fact that she was like keeping up this like I don't give a fuck attitude even throughout the night. She went on to say during her speech, she was like, it was easier getting divorced from two men than it was getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just love that she just like always, she's never gonna like act like she wants something again. I feel like after this, like she is very much just like, I'm Cher, I've done enough, like I'm good to go. And she kept the attitude up the entire time, which I kind of live. Like Cher, she gets diva status, you know, like she's allowed to be a diva and allowed to make comments like that because she's fucking Cher. Moving on to our next person who was inducted was Foreigner. Now, normally Foreigner is not somebody who is going to be on my radar because just like not my type of music, but the people who inducted them and who performed with them is the reason we're chatting about it. And Kelly Clarkson needs to be stopped. She needs to stop covering other people's songs because it is honestly so disrespectful to the original artist, the way that she completely takes these songs and just like mothers so fucking hard on these tracks and literally owns the song after it. Like no matter what song it is, no matter where she is, whether it's on her show, whether she's inducting somebody into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like she is going to step on that stage and remind you that she is the American Idol. She is Kelly Clarkson and she will cover your song better than you ever could perform it. And honestly, I love to see it. So Kelly was joined on stage during the performance with Sammy Hagar / Demi Lovato. Kelly covered I Want to Know What Love Is, and Demi covered Feels Like the First Time. Just fabulous performances all around. And again, Foreigner isn't somebody who's necessarily like on my radar, but when Kelly Clarkson steps on a fucking stage, my radar is at 100. So obviously obviously I had to chat about this. And the final thing we're going to talk about from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is another person, actually another American Idol alum, now that I think about it, who just needs to keep their mouth shut and stop covering other people's songs. Because when Jennifer Hudson opens her mouth and her voice comes out of it, I am like, you are so disrespectful to be covering somebody's song and sounding as impeccable as you do. The two of them, Kelly and Jennifer, like their voices are so incredible. And again, both American Idol alums. Like they are what America needed. They are both so talented. When I saw this cover that Jennifer did with her, I was like, this is fucking unreal. Like Jennifer Hudson is truly a one-of-a-kind talent. And I couldn't talk about this event and not just like give her flowers where flowers are due. And like I said, that is the last moment that we're going to talk about from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Moving on to our final pop culture moment from the week that were just too pop to handle. We have an update on Billboard's Best Pop Stars of the 21st Century list. So I've been covering this since they kind of announced it. And we have some major updates. So we have 8 new people on the list. Coming in at number 16, we have Jay-Z. Number 15, my girl, Miley Cyrus. Number 14, Justin Timberlake, who you guys know I fucking hate. Number 13, Nicki Minaj. 12, Eminem. 11 is Usher. 10, Adele. 9, Ariana Grande. And number 8, which was actually announced today, is Justin Bieber. So looking at this list, it feels totally correct. Do I hate Justin Timberlake? Of course. Does he deserve a spot on this list? Sure, I guess. And I actually pulled up my prediction list because I was like, all right, we're getting into like the final top 10. Like, where are we at with people I've predicted? So just looking at my predictions list and who I thought was going to be on the list, I had Taylor Swift, Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Rihanna, Adele, Eminem, Justin Bieber, Madonna, Shakira, Ariana, Miley, One Direction, Nicki Minaj, Ed Sheeran, and The Weeknd. Most of these people have made the list. I only have 6 people who aren't on the list yet, and I am pretty confident that they will all, if not most, be on the rest of the list. So out of the people I predicted who haven't been listed yet are Taylor Swift, Britney, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Rihanna, and Madonna. I don't see a world in which the 6 of them aren't on this list. And like, we still have 7 spots left. So we will see who comes in from 7 to 1. I've been very into this list. Like, I'm really excited to see what they say. So I will obviously keep you guys updated as we go, but we are getting to the top of the list. It feels like it's like closing the chapter. It's very exciting, but yeah, it is what it is. So with that wraps up our pop culture moments from the week. They were just too pop to handle. And we're going to keep this show going with my Drew releases, my new music releases from last week, and the new music releases coming out this week. We have a lot of releases this week, but we also had really good releases last week. So let's get into it. We had Kylie Minogue releasing her Tension 2 album. And now if you want to fucking shake your ass and dance and just feel like there's not a care in the world, just like have fun, listen to this album. It is perfect dance music. And honestly, a theme of all 3 of these releases from last week, dance music is so back, and I could not be happier. I mean, Kylie Minogue makes music for gay men who just like want to be on the dance floor, and that is exactly who I am. So I'm loving this release from Kylie. Definitely go check it out. It is so much fun. We also had Rebecca Black, who dropped the lead single from her upcoming album, Trust. This song is not getting enough recognition, and I am so not having it. This song is fucking perfection. It is a dance anthem. It is so good. I am loving this release from Rebecca Black. And like, I know what everybody's thinking. They're like, oh my God, Friday. Like, what do you mean Rebecca Black's releasing good music? Rebecca Black has hits. And I am tired of the slander on her name and her not getting the recognition that she deserves, because she puts out banger after banger. And this new song, Trust, is no exception. It is so good. And I swear to God, if you guys do not start putting some respect on her name, I'm going to have a problem. And then the final release from last week is probably, actually, no, it's not probably, it is my favorite. It is Jade Thirlwall, Fantasy. I feel like I have not even expressed how much I am obsessed with Jade lately, because I'm so into her new music that I'm just like, I don't even know what to say. She has released 3 singles in the past few months, and every single one of them is better than the next. I am obsessed with every single thing she has done for this solo project, and I'm eating every single second of it up. If you have not listened to this new song, Fantasy, or the other 2, Midnight Cowboy and Angel of My Dreams, you are missing out on prime pop music, because Jade is going to be a main pop girl. I'm putting it on record now. She needs to have main pop girl status, because her music is fucking incredible. And like, honestly, out of all the little mixed girlies who are doing solo music, she's kind of taking it. Like, she really is that fucking bitch. And I will not let her not be a main pop girl, because she is fantastic. I am loving this release. Honestly, the music last week was fucking killer. And this upcoming week is even crazier. We have so many releases coming up this week. I can't even begin to explain how excited I am. So first up on the list of our upcoming releases, we have Halsey, the Great Impersonator. I've been talking about this album since the rollout started because I've been obsessed with the marketing and the album rollout of it all. If you've been listening or if you read my newsletter, I did go to an early listening of the album last month, and the album is so fucking good. And I cannot wait for everybody else to finally hear the album and to finally be able to listen to the album again, because there's been a few songs, like there's 3 songs specifically, and I'll talk about them next week when we do the album review, that have been stuck in my head since a listening party. And I cannot wait to finally have this album and for everybody to finally hear it, because I truly am like, it's so good. It is such a good album. Also, I just found out today I'm going to her album release show on Friday in Brooklyn. So if anybody else is going, say, hey, if you see me, I'm very excited to see this album come to fruition, to see her perform them live. So very exciting week for us Halsey girls out there. We also have Megan Act 2. So Megan Thee Stallion is releasing her second album. I didn't know this Megan project was going to be a multi-act thing, but I am not complaining. She released Megan back in June, and now we're getting Megan Act 2 this Friday. So you guys know I eat up everything Megan Thee Stallion does, so we will see what she has in store. I'm sure it's fantastic. And now the next 2 things we're going to talk about are 2 singles coming out this week, which are just so... oh my God, I can't even explain how excited I am. So Lady Gaga is finally releasing the lead single for LG7. We are finally getting this fucking song. I feel like I've been talking about Lady Gaga's new era for fucking months. Like at the beginning of the summer, I feel like I started talking about like it was coming. We knew it was coming. She was teasing it. And I've been writing about it a lot in my newsletter. I haven't talked about it on the show as much of like how she's been teasing it, but she finally announced that this Friday, October 25th, we are getting the lead single from her upcoming album. It is called Disease. The single is called Disease. We don't know the album name yet, but I am so excited. So apparently it seems to be produced by Circuit, who has also produced songs like 360, Wrecking Ball, the Die For You remix, Timber, Roar, Where Have You Been? He's worked with Nicki Minaj, Fifth Harmony. Like he's produced hits and he shared it to his story. So it's not confirmed that he produced it, but it just seemed weird that a producer would share it to his story if he didn't work on it. So knowing his track record, like he's produced bangers. So I'm sure he is not going to, fall short now. And especially with the Lady Gaga comeback single, this shit's gonna be good. She also released a teaser to the music video, and it seems that she's like running away from this car. And on the cover of the album, or the single cover rather, she is on top of the hood of a car. And if you think back to the Chromatica, the HBO special she released, at the premiere of that, she wore this like outfit that was very much a car wreck. Like she had like the hood of a car, she had like the windshield around her, like she had like the door on her arm, like it was very weird. And when I did the episode talking about her, like how excited I was for her new music, I was like, she is, oh, that's how it started. At the end of the Chromatica movie, she teased LG7 is coming with that teaser. There, it finally is coming back to me, yeah. Wow, we've been waiting for a while for this. Holy shit. But at that, she wore this outfit that was like a white car, kind of like dismembered all over her body. And now that white car seems to be on the cover of the single cover. We also got a sneak peek at the music video, like I said, and there is somebody driving the car. I don't know who it is. People are saying it's Sarah Paulson. People are saying, what if it's Beyonce? In my perfect world, this music video is the car chasing her the entire time. And at the end of the music video, it hits her. And then like Beyonce gets out of the car and we find out like there's a Beyonce collab on the album. Now that is a perfect world. Like I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like we are ready for Telephone Part 2. And I think it would be such a fun way to announce it by like Beyonce committing a crime when in Telephone, the original one, they obviously were breaking Lady Gaga out of jail and they were like on this heist together. So like, I'm not saying this was going to happen, but like if Beyonce does make a cameo in this music video and this is how they announce Telephone Part 2, you heard it here first. We also found out that she is working with a new choreographer in the Gaga world, but she is not new to anybody who knows. If you know dancing and you know choreography, like you know who the fuck Paris Goebel is, and this is major. I don't know if I've ever talked about it, but I really love watching dance videos. Like I'm really into choreography and dancing, and like I don't know, it's just like a little niche thing that I love. And if you know who the royal family is, like you know who the fuck Paris is. And if you're not familiar with Paris from the royal family, you might have seen her work, I don't know, at Rihanna Super Bowl, J-Lo and Shakira Super Bowl. She choreographed the Sorry music video by Justin Bieber. She also choreographed the entire Savage X Fenty show. Like she is incredible. And the fact that Gaga is working with her for this new era, it's very special to me, and I'm very excited because I'm such a fan of Paris and her work, and obviously I'm like as gay as they come, and like could not be more excited for a new Gaga era. So all signs are pointing to like a fantastic era from Gaga, and I cannot fucking wait to see what's in store. We will talk about it next week. Oh my god, I cannot wait. And then the final release that we have that actually is like a perfect segue into our main topic of the week, which is influencers, is Addison Rae. So Addison Rae, the pop star that she is releasing her second single from this new era that she's doing. Not sure if it's for an album or she's just like having fun. I could really see her doing it either way, but we have Aquamarine from Miss Addison Rae coming out on Friday, which I cannot wait for. I'm still listening to Diet Pepsi like it came out yesterday. And also her EP that she released last year is just like incredible. So we are Addison Rae stans in this house, and I cannot wait to see what she has in store for this next single. And like I said, that kind of leads us perfectly into the main points of the show. Obviously, Addison Rae started out as an influencer on TikTok, and like she was really honestly kind of like she would just like take any job. If you remember Addison Rae, like back when she first started out, like she was doing these crazy dance videos. She would be like dancing in the middle of the street, doing anything just for like a TikTok viral moment, which like get your bag, girl, no judgment there. But like she really has done such a good job at pivoting from influencer to more of a pop star. Like I think when you think Addison Rae now, you honestly think more of like music, it girl. Like you don't think of the girl who's dancing on TikTok, and she has done such a fantastic job at just like honing in on what people loved about her and like being this it girl and being this like just like this, I don't even know what to call it. She just has this it factor, and she just like took that and ran with it with her music career. And that is something I really think that influencers should take notes from, because as we're seeing, as we're growing in this influencer age, there is an expiration date, I feel like, for influencers if you are not consistently like growing, changing, adapting. And it's kind of like raising this question to me, like, are people turning on influencers? Like, is the world becoming tired of being influenced by these influencers? So there was just like a lot of stories this week that kind of all led back to influencers, starting with the Addison Rae new single and just like thinking about the way that she's completely pivoted her career. But there's a lot more to the influencer landscape this week, so I thought it'd be fun to just kind of like dive in. We don't really talk about influencers much on this show, I feel like, because it's not really like the things that I gravitate towards, but they all kind of had like big pop culture moments this week, and it'll all make sense as we go. So first things first, and this was like a really sad story to read, honestly, and it broke today. So I was like, oh my God, this is like perfect timing. Like this, as unfortunate as it is for the person involved, like it fit the landscape of this episode perfectly. So obviously I had to add it in, but Brianna Chicken Fry, or Brianna Paglia. I don't really listen to her or know her much about her. I just know who she is because she's like an internet person. But her and her boyfriend, Bryan, who I'm sure you guys know, he's like one of the biggest country stars I feel like out there right now. They have broken up. They've been together for like a year and change, I want to say. And I guess things are going south. And this morning, Zach took to his Instagram story to share a statement that Brianna had no idea was coming. So he wrote, Brianna and me have broken up, which first of all, like terrible grammar, but Brianna and me have broken up with each other, and I respect and love her with every ounce of my heart. She has loved me unconditionally for a very long time, and for that, I'll always thank her. I've had an incredibly hard year personally, and I've struggled through some pretty severe things. I thought it would be beneficial for both of us to go our different ways. I am not perfect, and I never will be. Please respect Brianna's privacy and space in this, and if you have it in your heart, mine too. With everything I am, and to anyone I let down, I am sorry. I try my best in everything. I have failed people that love me, and mostly myself. So he posted this morning, so Tuesday morning, and it was just like out of nowhere, because I don't really follow her or Zach very closely. I did meet her at the People's Choice Awards after party back in February, and she was honestly lovely. She was so sweet. It was like a 2-minute interaction. We had like a really small conversation because we had a mutual friend, but very quick interaction. We were just like having small talk and like whatever. She was lovely. She was very nice, but obviously like that doesn't tell me much about her character, having a 2-minute interaction. But that being said, so it appears that she was completely blindsided by the fact that he was going to go live with the fact that they broke up yesterday, which to me is just like such loser behavior. Like for him just like go off on a whim and post this without telling her or letting her know, like when they're both very big public figures. And mind you, she has been following you around on tour all year long. Like there's always videos on my For You page of her at his shows. Like she is very much present. She is very much always on tour with him, which is like a very big thing to do. It's like a very exhausting thing to do, to travel to that extent, whether you're the performer or not. Like it's exhausting. You know, you're away from your home for an extended period of time. Like she was making a lot of sacrifices, I feel like, to be on tour with him. Whether it was like he asked her to or not, doesn't matter. She still made all of these sacrifices. And now you're going to go ahead and like wrong her in this situation. She did end up releasing a statement and a video that was like honestly really upsetting. She was like, I had no idea he was going to post this. I've been crying for days. We literally broke up yesterday. And I woke up this morning to see him posting that. And I woke up this morning and everybody was texting me asking if I was okay. Like she was completely blindsided by this. And I just think the fact that he did this, like I said, it's just such loser behavior. Like to me, it's almost like he's trying to get the upper hand and like be the first one to make a statement. And like he's obviously admitting he did something wrong, which he does have a history of cheating. Like there's like a long list of people that he has cheated on apparently. Again, I don't follow up with him. I don't really know what he does, but like what I could take from the internet is that like this is not the first time he has cheated on somebody. I believe he cheated on his wife with Brianna is what I could understand from like what I was reading, or like there was some overlap there. Like very just like, again, this isn't like the first time he's cheated on somebody apparently. So it's like this is just it just sucks. Like it sucks to see somebody who like clearly, speaking about Brianna, like clearly she was so like dedicated to like making their relationship work and so in love with him, and she was like, I rode by him so many times and I was always on his side and I was always cheering for him, and I'm assuming he cheated or something that like they couldn't come back from because obviously they broke up. So just to see her like have to post that video of her sitting on the bathroom floor crying, and like I said, I'm not necessarily like a fan of her. I don't watch her content, like I don't keep up with her, but even just as somebody just watching this video, like as a human being watching somebody sit on their bathroom floor and cry, like it's heartbreaking. And you could tell in the video how distraught and upset and truly blindsided she was by this. So just like big loser behavior from Mr. Bryan. And like, I'm gonna, I hate to even like bring this up, but like, I really hope everybody who had that like fuck Ariana Grande homewrecker cheater vibes and energy for Ariana last year, I hope they carry that over to Zach Bryan, because he is like selling out arenas. He is like, everybody loves him. He's like country's biggest thing. And I really hope everybody who had so much to say about Miss Ariana last year holds true to Zach Bryan this year, because, I don't forget. I remember who was calling Ariana a homewrecker and who wasn't on her side when I was. And, now everybody loves her again. The hate train's over. Everybody can't wait for Wicked. Everybody loved Eternal Sunshine. So if you're going to have that type of mentality for her, I just hope everybody holds it true for Zach Bryan as well. So, well, I'll leave it at that. Moving right along into our next influencer moment, little thing to chat about this week. This was just like a crazy video to come across everybody's For You page. And it was the man who shoved Brittany Broski literally across the arena at the Sweat Tour last week in LA. If you didn't see it, or if you don't know, at the Sweat Tour every night during Apple, there's somebody who goes around and like gets a group of people together to do the Apple dance on screen at the Sweat Tour. And it's like, it was like the moment of the show where like, you have your time to shine. And like, they're very big about like picking select people to do it. Like it's very much driven by vibes, I guess. And in LA, Brittany Broski happened to be one of the people who was picked for it. I don't know if she was picked. She was wearing like a black wig. Honestly, she was kind of unrecognizable because she was in a wig and like didn't look like herself. But whether they picked her because she was Brittany or because she had good vibes doesn't matter, because the way that she was body checked out of the frame by this 40-year-old man to get his moment at the Sweat Tour was fucking insane. And now there's a lot of different takes online about it. And like, to me, I'm like, why is this 40-year-old man pushing this woman out of the way, whether she's an influencer or not? Like, why are you pushing anybody out of the way to literally jump in front of a camera to have a 15, not even a 15, it was like a 4-second cameo on screen at the Charlie XCX concert? Like, it was so embarrassing. And as the internet does, of course, they find out who this man is and they dive into like his Instagram and things like that. And it turns out that he is a senior producer and writer for People magazine. His entire Instagram is him like at the Tonys, at the Oscars, at the Grammys with Charlie, like going to Charlie shows and things like that. Like he is very much in the industry. And like, if you have that type of a digital footprint, why are you acting like this on the big screen at a Charlie XCX concert, especially at the most TikTokable moment of the night? Like everybody is always recording the Apple dance because it is like such a TikTok moment. You knew this was going to end up on the internet. Like I honestly believe like he was like fine with being the villain of the night because he just like wanted his 5 seconds of fame. But the way that he shoved her out of the camera frame was insane. And the two storylines I'm seeing online are like people like me who are like, why is a grown man acting like this? But then there's another side of the internet who is like, oh, is Brittany Broski good? He should have pushed her harder. Like, she doesn't deserve to be on the screen. And like, I don't know if you guys remember, but like 2 or 3 years ago, everybody was obsessed with Brittany Broski. And then likability is a curse. Like, as soon as you get too famous or too popular or you get too many opportunities, everybody turns on you. And it's like, people have such like a wishy-washy moment with influencers. Like, they love them, they love them, they love them until they're at a point where like they get so many opportunities and like all of the success and support that we're giving these people gets them to a point of like fame almost, or whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it's very different when you're an influencer versus like a traditional celebrity. But like once they get to that point where it's like teetering of like, are they like, have they made it? I guess you could say, like, everybody just turns on them. We've seen it with Chris Olsen. We've seen it with so many people where like as soon as we give these people a little too much support, most of the internet completely turns on them. And it's just so weird. Like, it doesn't happen like that with traditional celebrities as much. I don't know what it is. People just have this like weird stigma with influencers, and like it or not, they're here to stay. And like, as somebody who works in digital marketing and has done so many influencer campaigns and creates content, not that I'm an influencer or like that's my end goal, but like as somebody who works in this space, like I'm just going to make sure you guys are clear. Like, influencers are not going anywhere. They are such a valuable piece of marketing to any brand or artist or movie or anything that needs to be promoted. One of the first and probably the biggest budget nowadays goes to influencer marketing. So like, you can, be mad and bitter and hate the fact that these influencers get these opportunities, but it's going to keep happening. So I think you just should like mind your business and like let bygones be bygones, because there is nothing that you can do to get these people to stop getting these opportunities, because we are giving them the platforms and the views and the support to be this successful, which leads me into my next point. Obviously, like I was talking about earlier, the Eras Tour was back this week, and I don't know what the fuck happened, but the influx of videos on my For You page of people bitching and moaning about influencers going to the Eras Tour when real fans couldn't get tickets is out of control. And like, I understand the argument. They're like, oh, these influencers know 4 or 5 songs and they get to go to the Eras Tour and I don't. I understand it's upsetting if you can't go to the Eras Tour. If you can go to any concert and you see an influencer there who maybe you think like doesn't deserve it or things like that. Do you realize that this is their job? That they are getting sent to these events because they have a platform and an audience and they are able to reach people that the normal person, sorry, you don't have the audience that they have. And it just kind of leads me back to my point of like, I don't think people realize how much of an influencer marketing budget these brands set aside to do things like this. Because when an influencer of a certain magnitude goes to an event, whether it's a concert, a red carpet, a movie premiere, just going to like any of these cool events you see them going to, when an influencer with that certain magnitude and following and reach and engagement go to these events, it becomes desirable and it's what people want. And that is, as a society, we have a consumer mentality. So whether it is purchasing a product or wanting to go to an event, it is marketing 101, that when we see people that we not admire, but like when we see people online going to do things, it makes us want to do it. And whether it makes us want to go to a concert, buy a product, it's the same exact thing. And again, I understand being upset that maybe like Brittany Broski got to go to the Eras Tour and you didn't. And maybe you are a bigger Taylor Swift fan, but I don't see you posting on TikTok 2 or 3 times a day, doing a podcast, recording content, making YouTube videos, signing all these brand deals. Like, if you want to be an influencer and go to these events, like do it, but that's not the reason to be an influencer. Like, these people aren't making content and being influencers just to be flown to these events. They're doing it because it's their job and it's their passion and it's the career path that they've taken. And it all just stems from jealousy. And it's like, it's such an ugly trait and it's such like a ugly and negative mentality to have. And maybe it is because I do create content to a much lower scale than any of the people I'm talking about. But like, I don't get why people get so mad about influencers going to these events and these opportunities that they have worked for. This is the equivalent of them like getting a raise, getting a promotion, getting a bonus. Like, it is, yes, it's obviously to a different scale and it might be a little prettier than like a $5,000 bonus or a pay bump or things like that. Like, obviously it's like same thing, different font kind of vibe, but like, this is their reward for the work that they do. And it's just the career path that they've chosen. So I don't understand like what the argument or why we're so upset. Like, why are you not more upset at like the scalpers who are buying 50 tickets and selling them for $3,000 when they bought it at $50 face value. Like, those are the real people that you need to be worried about. And I think what I'm realizing is like people can't comment on a scalper's TikTok video or like send them a hate tweet. So they just like default to sending these influencers hate and talking shit about them online because like we can't contact the scalper who is the real problem as to why you can't get Eras Tour tickets. Like when these influencers go to these events, they are not the reason you couldn't get a ticket. They are not the like that's not that just doesn't make sense. And like it's just such like a crazy argument and like hissy fit to throw online that like an influencer is at a show and you're not, because like it's their job. It never fails to blow my mind. And this week specifically, it has been like higher than ever because of the Eras Tour coming back. And it just like, again, it just like fell perfectly into the landscape of the show. So I just had to throw it in there. But I feel like it's been a little negative, you know, and again, like I said at the top of the show, we are celebrating this week. So we're going to talk about some fun influencer things. And that is the SNL skit this week about doomscrolling, because they nailed it. If you did not see the skit, please go watch it. It was honestly fucking hilarious, and it just goes to show how well SNL knows their audience and how hard they have their finger on the pulse of culture, because they nailed every single one of these impersonations. So kicking it off, we had Bowen Yang, who's one of my faves. He was Harry Daniels, who is the guy who sings to all the celebrities. So they had Bowen dressed as Harry singing to Maya Rudolph as Kamala, to Trump, to Billie Eilish. Then they had Chloe Fineman, who did probably the best Alex Cooper impersonation I've ever seen in my life. It was so well done, and she does such a killer like spoof of the intro to Call Her Daddy. It was so good. And then Alex Cooper took it to the next level and did a TikTok lip syncing to Chloe Fineman acting as Alex Cooper. That was like that meme of like the math equations going along my head. I was like, wait, what am I saying now? But it was just so well done. And I love that these influencers are like buying into it. They're just like, this is clearly not like making fun of me. They are just like poking fun at the world in which doom scrolling is. We had Kenan Thompson as Keith Lee, which again, hilarious. I honestly, I feel like Kenan Thompson doesn't get enough credit. He really has been like killing the comedy game since he was a kid on All That, and he just like carried it through consistently. I have heard that his book is pretty good and like has some interesting insights of like his world and like what went on. So maybe that's something I'll add to my list. We'll see. We had Heidi Garner. She was essentially doing a trad wife, but it was really kind of like nodding to Nara Smith, who obviously is like making Capri Suns from scratch and shit like that. So that was hilarious. It was so well done. And then to end it, we had Chloe and Marcelo doing the Costco guys. They brought the boom. It was so fucking funny. All of these skits were so good. SNL this year is really just killing it. Like, I've been so impressed with every single episode, and seeing this skit this week when there's all of this drama going on in the influencer landscape. Obviously it wasn't planned that way, but it just fell so perfectly into at least the Too Pop to Handle landscape, because it just fit so perfectly. And I was like, this is the perfect way to just like take these negative kind of topics and connotations and just, you know, put a pretty bow on it. So that's exactly what I did. Now, typically this is the point in the show where we're going to do a TV recap, but this episode is already very, very long, and I'm not going to keep you guys here any longer because obviously we have to do my yes and my mess of the week. So I'm going to skip the TV recap on this week's episode, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to include it in my newsletter this week. So if you missed out, if you're not subscribed, I'm starting to do podcast notes every single week. So they're kind of just like a text description of each episode. So typically I wouldn't include TV recap in that, but this episode's long. I'm going to skip the TV recap. There wasn't really much to talk about anyway, but I'll give my thoughts on Roni and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City over on my Substack. So make sure you subscribe there. It's just twopoptohandle.substack.com. I'll have it linked down below. I aim to get the podcast notes out on Wednesday or Thursday, so you'll have it before the weekend. So if you're looking for the TV recap, I apologize, but it will be there. I will not obviously skip the week, but we don't have time for it in today's landscape. We're going to skip the TV recap this week, and we're going to go right into my yes and my mess of the week. My yes being something I am loving, and my mess being something I am not loving. This is like our 1 year yes and mess. This is like kind of monumental. And honestly, my yes and my mess this week are so true to like the core of Too Pop to Handle. If you've been listening for a while, my yes and my mess this week are just very like true to everything I preach about and talk about and love. So I'm very excited to dive in. So we always start on a high note, like I said, and my yes this week is the fact that Barry Keoghan was at Sabrina Carpenter's show in Raleigh this week. There's always rumors of them breaking up. They're not very good with like PDA. They kind of like, Barry's very good with it, but Sabrina's not, where like Barry will comment on pictures from her from like a year ago and just like fawn over her and like be obsessed with her as he should be. And Sabrina just like doesn't give it back publicly, which I kind of love. Like I kind of love watching him be obsessed with her, but she just kind of like does her pop star thing and like keeps it offline. So he was at her show in Raleigh this week and she gave him this cute little wave. And it was just like, you could tell she was just like, she was like, oop, that's my man. He is here. And she also changed the lyrics in Juno and said, I hear I'm knocking Barry instead of baby, come on up. And I wish I had a video of Barry's face when she said that, because just thinking back to the Coachella performance when she waved at him, I think it was during Espresso, and the way he like lit up over that, I know my man was geeked over Sabrina saying his name on stage. And it's just so cute. I love the two of them. You guys know they're like my favorite celebrity couple. And every time there's a breakup rumor, I get so many texts and DMs and being like, oh my God, did you see this? Did you see this? And like, I appreciate everybody having my back, but I'm telling you right now, like, I think they really are in the long haul. Like, I don't think the end of the relationship is anywhere near. So I think those rumors, we really have to just, take them with a grain of salt, because clearly they are A-okay and they are still together. At least they're still together for the 1 year of Too Pop to handle. Like, if that's all I get from the relationship, that is enough for me. Like, that is my stamp, that like really is like a stamp in my Too Pop to handle passport, and I will take it. And shifting gears over to my mess for the week, we are talking about whatever the fuck is going on with Ariana Grande and Elvira this week. So if you did not see, Elvira, Queen of Halloween, was doing an interview this week, and she was asked about her worst celebrity encounter, and she said that one time 7 years ago, Ariana Grande brought like 20 plus people of her friends and family backstage at one of her shows, and Elvira signed everything for them. She took tons of photos with them, and when Elvira asked Ariana for a photo, Ariana said, sorry, I don't really do that, and denied her a photo. And now, when you look at it and you boil it down from like a journalistic perspective, Elvira was asked a question and she answered it. She didn't do anything wrong, like they asked her worst celebrity encounter, and she said that it was Ariana Grande denying her a photo. What I'm going to say was the mess is two things. Elvira became famous in the 1980s and has continued to be famous throughout. You're going to tell me through the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s to 2010s, and now being in the like 2020, 2024 year, whatever you want to call it, the worst celebrity encounter you have ever had is Ariana Grande denying you a photo? You have been around for like 50 years, and the worst celebrity encounter was Ariana Grande denying you a photo? I just find that hard to believe that that was the worst. I'm not discrediting her for answering the question, and like if that's the first thing that came to her mind, that is her truth. I get it, sure. I definitely think she chose Ariana because she is so buzzy right now with Wicked and everything going on. And I just don't understand why she had to take it to the level of like screenshotting her answer in the article and posting it. Like there was a whole article and interview about it, and she included the piece about Ariana being her worst celebrity encounter in the carousel. That you could have left that out. Like that was the mess of, like that's the mess of it. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have to you say it in the interview. That's fine. It's going to get clipped online. People are going to spread it. It is what it is. But for you to screenshot that part of the interview and post it on your Instagram, you were clearly like looking for clicks, looking for more views, like looking to just like stir the pot, which is what leads me to think that like, this is not your worst celebrity encounter. You just thought of the buzziest celebrity you've ever had some type of bad encounter with. And you chose that and went with it. So Ariana, the queen that she is, responded and commented on this Instagram post. And she said, I am so disheartened to see this. I actually don't even remember getting the chance to meet you because I had an anxiety attack and to my memory left before the rest of my family. This was around 7 years ago. And at the time, I was really not great with being in public crowds or loud places. But if I'm misremembering this moment, I sincerely apologize for offending you so. Thank you for being so nice to my mom. She told me how lovely you were. She might have different feelings about that now, but I'll talk to her. Clearly, we all have our days. You will always be our queen of Halloween. And I just love that she didn't just like take this and like let her like, speak badly about her. She was like, hey, like, just so you know, like I also was like in a bombing attack. Like my concert, people died at my show. There was literally a bomb that went off and killed multiple of my fans. Like, yeah. 7 years ago, being at an event or in a loud area or at an event like this, I wasn't really in the best headspace and I did have an anxiety attack and I had to leave. So I'm sorry you didn't get your photo with me, but like thanks for taking a photo with my mom. I'll make sure she still likes you, but I'm gonna say she probably has different opinions on you now, which I just thought this response was like perfectly done. And I feel like I've said this like week after week. Ariana isn't just such like an I don't give a fuck mood lately. Like she is not going to let somebody just like talk over her. I feel like a few years ago she might have like seen this and like not responded or just like, like let it like roll over and like whatever. Like she's like, hey, I apologize if I was rude, but don't forget that 7 years ago, I literally walked off stage and my concert was bombed. Like, yeah, being in a area like that, I was a little high strung. And I love the way she responded. I thought it was very messy for Elvira to bring this up and to leave out the context in which that's happened after Manchester. Like there were just definitely some like loopholes within it. And I'm very happy that Ariana responded. I feel like, again, I've been saying for so long how much I love this era that Ariana's in of just like speaking up for herself and just like letting people say what they want, but also like responding and like, yeah, you can say what you want and like whatever narrative you want to write about me, go ahead. But I'm also going to tell you my side of the story and respond accordingly. So take that as you will. There's kind of like a double yes and a mess within my mess. Cause like the mess is Elvira, talking her shit and stirring the pot. But the yes factor of it is the way Ariana responded because it was queen behavior. And that's that. That is our 1 year episode. How crazy is that? Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you liked what you heard, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating if you're listening to us as a podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, give us a like. You know all the things. There are so many things you can do on YouTube. Do them all except for dislike and unsubscribe. If you are interested in subscribing to my newsletter, you can find that, and I give you guys some extra moments from the week that were just too pop to handle every single weekend. It is linked down below. It is toopoptohandle.substack.com. I say it every single week. If you liked what you heard, share this episode with a friend. If everybody shares this episode with one person, I will double in listeners. As a 1 year podcast gift, I think everybody should be obligated to either leave me a 5-star rating or share an episode with a friend. Just like share the wealth of Too Pop to Handle, like we are celebrating big things over here. Again, thank you guys so much if you've been listening for a year, if you've been listening for 6 months, if you've been listening for 1 week, regardless. Thank you so much for tuning in. I seriously appreciate it so much. And here's to another year, 2, 3, 10, however many more years of Too Pop to Handle we have in store. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.